been a few months and I may have to learn how to do this camera stuff all over again. I picked up this old Victorian fern stand, I guess you'd call it, for free. It's a little raggedy. Somebody's tied it up to preserve it, which is thankful. In which I'm thankful, because all the parts are there, which is pretty rare. As you can see, it's pretty loose. All the old hide glue, which probably put it together, has dried out. But it appears it will go back together without too much trouble. Finish is gone. Hopefully I can reactivate and do my special treat on that. The top's a little rough, not too bad. I've seen tool chests much worse than this. So this will be a nice, relatively quick fun project that has most likely very little value when it's done. So we will do some testing on it to see what its status will be. It's all nailed together. That's loose, that's loose. It sounds loose. They sound loose, but they don't feel loose. Huh. Okay. Well, first, do no damage. This is my motto. It's kind of cool. They're not in style anymore. Unless you have an old Victorian house, I suppose. Then you might consider it, but let's do some tests on what the finish is. Pretty much it's given. It's an old shellac finish. And we will know in a minute. And it is. So it's going to dissolve the old finish, but it's got so many layers. I don't know if I'll be able to match with all these chips here. Normally I can reactivate and blend all the colors together, but this one's going to be a big challenge. I may end up stripping the whole thing back, and then instead of changing color or anything, I will apply 5 or 10 coats of shellac to get that lovely brown finish back that everyone's accustomed to. So this will be an interesting project, I hope. COVID's back, so I got to get back in the swing of working in the garage. Summer was here and I was working on a new addition to my home. And that kept me busy. I don't think it was worthy of any video. Although it is fun to watch and work machinery for excavation. But the foundation is done. Concrete slab is poured. Now I'm just out of money. We can all relate to that. So yeah, this is going to take a little more than my usual zhuzhing up, I think. Let's see. It's one of those things you explore and experiment first. The more finish I can leave on, the happier I am. Then I will glue it all together again, but not until. Let's see what the top does. This is the old varnish or alcohol basically that I clean my brushes with, and so it has a nice dark tint to it. So sometimes when I reactivate the old finish, that fulfills the need to darken the existing finish, and I can get away without refinishing the whole piece. I don't know if I'll be that successful on this one, but that's okay. I can still make it look old and still use the shellac. Scrub, 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 rinse and repeat. Just using a little product difference. Somebody got clear through the finish with probably an alcoholic drink there. Well, you will see that I will use no sandpaper. This thing's been sanded when it was made. I don't believe in sanding after that personally, because any patina deep into the wood from sunlight will then be taken away. And I avoid that if I possibly can. Someplace like this, I might have to even add a little stain and a small brush to fix that whiteness. In fact, it's not. It's interesting that it feels, I think it's maple. The rest is built out of, at least the secondary wood is pine. It's like it's getting some changes going on there. And here's the secondary wood of pine. I believe that's maple. So this will be very challenging. If I were to stand it up, it would be easier because I could keep the alcohol from rolling away so fast and get it to activate the finish. Takes patience. Here we are again. I went ahead and took the table apart this morning off camera. I started on it yesterday, but time got away from me and I had other things to do. So now I plan on stripping this top pretty far back I'm going to try and save all the other finish on the table. This, unfortunately, is pretty far gone. And I couldn't find a compatible matching stain to make it look good. Maybe it's not even acceptable. I just didn't like it. So I'm going to take this. As you can see, maybe that it's starting to lift the finish now that I'm not up on an angle. See how it's darkening and getting dirty? That's what I want. Hope you can see that. Let's try that again. So now this is just to stabilize the finish that's on there. So the new finish will stick. The new stain. I'll get it out there. Has a nice honey color to it. Over 100 years it'll just turn darker and darker and darker until it's completely black. That's when we get to the point where sometimes if Antiques Roadshow doesn't catch us, we can remove that sad patina that's just not livable. It's certainly pretty for antique dealers because it shows its age and its origin. But I don't know too many people that want their house to look kind of like a Little House on the Prairie. Where's my hammer? It always amazed me. Here's Little House on the Prairie happening in the day and time that it's supposed to, and yet they have 100-year-old antiques they're using as part of their prop. You would think the furniture would be fairly new and shiny and kind of good, but that's Hollywood. So I shall let this dry till it's rock solid, and I will be able to stain it. I'll take some steel wool over it, so if there's any fish eyes or sawdust that gets in it, it really won't affect. A hair So in the meantime, while that dries, I will make an attempt to clean up these legs. After a good hour stripping the other one, it's over there drying, I determined that it's just not going to turn out very well. I didn't strip the whole thing, I just stripped that one leg, played with the other leg, tried different techniques, and nothing would work as well as I wanted. So what I decided to do is basically go over the entire thing with a gel stain. Hopefully the patina will still shine through. So I don't know if you can see those little cracks and gaps, but when I do this, see, they go away a bit. So I'm using a mahogany, which isn't that red mahogany that we're all used to on old cherry furniture, or mahogany furniture, or plywood. This mahogany is a brown mahogany. It's a gel stain, so it's much thicker than a typical wiping stain. So I'm going to jab it very delicately, so to speak. Sarcasm there. Into all the nooks and crannies. Try to even up the tone. The only other option was to sand it all the way back, because what happened is, this is a machine made, factory made I should say, piece of furniture, and my guess is, and trust me I'm no expert, but this was made of maple, and maple's notoriously hard to make look good for me anyway. It's the grain is very difficult. So what they do is they just spray on a varnish finish and call it done. Now, even if this was in the 1890s or thereabouts, it's still into the industrial age. They were rolling this stuff out by the hundreds. So I think ultimately this is my best option. Otherwise, I've got more time in it than money is worth. So consequently, it would end up painted. I have a hard time painting wood unless I built it. I think that's the best plan of attack for this. To take this all apart and clean it would have been a nightmare. That's another reason that I changed to this tact. Is getting that back and straight, pretty, without a jig. Not gonna happen, my friends. Not gonna happen, my friends. It moves, so make sure I get all the nooks and crannies. So here's the top we did a little bit ago. Go over it lightly with some steel wool. Knock off any bumps and dings and hair and anything. And try a little bit on this. My guess is it's going to fight me tooth and nail. Alright. I got patience for this. I'll let this dry slightly as I play around. Well, it finally got really tacky, almost dry, so I took a rag like this and I very carefully tamped it all over because I didn't want any brush marks and I didn't want a fake grain. So unfortunately, I forgot to turn on the camera. So there it is. I think once it's varnished, it's going to be very pretty. So I'll put it together after it dries. Then I'll coat it down with the finish and it will be done. So onwards and upwards. So today, as you can see, as my finish turned out pretty good. Got a couple loose spindles there I need to address, and I think I'm going to use some Gorilla Glue. If I can get the package open, if anyone uses it very much, you know that it's very good at sealing everything, including the container it comes in, so never buy too much. They have minis, but they're too small, and this is too big. Got some swabs here I can use. Get this on your fingers. Your fingers are black for a few days, so it's good to avoid that. And in this instance, it's just to keep these up decoratively. Otherwise, I would probably put water on one side and glue on the other, and that causes a nice foaming reaction, which fills voids and becomes very strong. But given what this is, that's great. Okay, set this over here. Now, pop the nails back a little there. We'll see about putting the legs back on. Same situation. I marked them so I wouldn't put them in the wrong location. That'll make everything go back together much faster. Less trial and error. And I better put them with the little holes facing the right direction too, don't you think? And I think I'm going to put a little water down there. That will help that. That'll cause that foaming action I was talking about. The other set of legs. Just dip those in water. That makes it a lot quicker and easier. Okay. Now, shall put glue in each of these holes. Again, I don't need the foaming action, so I'm not going to overfill and or water. At least not at the moment. I may change my mind, you never know. Let's see, which would be up, I would say. Based on the lightness of that other side. Grab clamp. Those two are never apart. And that is down. I think I'm gonna just for fun, I'm gonna pin those just to hold them in place. Now when I lift them, it hopefully won't fall out. And now, I'm going to glue this together. See, is that the ones I glued? It's not. A little more glue. Interesting how only one side on the whole unit is loose. They were opposite sides. Okay, now and luckily I marked this too. So I think more than enough glue. Hopefully nobody ever has to take this apart. And I'm going to wet this. Find my marks. All the shadow lines are lined up. Back just like she was. I shall flip it over. Put some weight on top, and that will hold it until it's dry. Then I'll put some finish on it, and it's done. So now I'll put my coat of final finish on this. It'll be a little tedious, but just gotta kind of keep from putting air bubbles in it doing this. Sneak around the backside and do it. there it is. Complete. I think that turned out pretty nice. Good catch, huh?